I'm not that technical.
Okay, hang on. I want to make sure I'm recording. Okay, so we're welcoming everybody. And if anyone sees people in the waiting room, please let them in. Okay. Yeah, there.
Sounds like a doorbell.
I know. Yeah, so if you can keep an eye on the waiting room, Sandy, that would be great.
I'm trying.
I know people just popping right in. So I believe we're recording. We're here on our 4th Peabody Highlander Showcase with Moe Seager from our high school and from our grade school. So we're going to move along here, and want to thank our co-host Sandy, and Neil Binstock is in charge of the music videos. I've been the host here. Whoops. There we go. Okay. And here's a scene in the front of the school, in case you've forgotten that. And I'm heading a project to try to restore this statue. So if any of you can donate some money here, see how nice and silvery it is? Well,
Nice.
It's there still. It's the only thing left at the school beside the 4 pillars on the outside, and it's getting a little rusty, but we'll talk about that later. And then here is anyone recognize that? Center Hall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not hard.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Moe and his work. So Moe, tell us about going to Paris, or would you rather we play the video first?
I don't know. It's your call, Bob.
Okay, well, why don't we play the video first? So Neil, slide 6, if you can play that, that'd be great. I'll stop my screen share and you'll screen share, okay? You can enlarge it on the whole screen by that thing in the corner, Neil. Yeah, down on the far right.
We're not getting any audio, Bob. At least I'm not anyway.
We just did this and it worked.
Yeah, right. Right. No audio.
No audio.
You're not, Neil's on mute. That's why. Neil, you got to unmute. That's what, start over this video. Neil, you're on mute. Down on the left corner, unmute yourself. And then start the video. There you go. Now start the video over. It's lucky we all got a high school and could do these things.
I don't hear anything though.
No, it's silent, Bob.
He has the video
is on
now.
mute too. There you go.
Video's on mute.
There you go.
That's Chance.
It's above my pay grade.
There we go.
If everyone can mute except for Neil.
What is jazz is a way in here to a way out, way up, down, deep inside, where your soul, your thoughts, where they reside. Jazz is a trade wind blowing in from Ghana, about it out in Congo Square. Jazz is on a worldwide tour of Africa and African blues. Jazz is a niche that walks me home. It's a bass line I climb to the top of the stair. It's a hand reaching out when nobody cares. Jazz softly whispers, I know how you feel. Jazz is a man down and out in Chicago, jamming and trancing beyond his sorrow. Jazz is a diva in a Pittsburgh club. She is oozing and out, and I feel the rub. Jazz is Rio, song in the dawn. Jazz is Jazz is in duo with Mozart and Bob. Spoon in tune with Cafe Vienna. Jazz is a Jew on the clarinet. Going for broke, he let it rip. And Jazz is the next on a back street in Paris. Rendezvous lovers, lovers and poets. Ça va?
Ouais, ça va? You sick of Paris yet, Mo?
No, man, I tell you, I've had my doubts over time. I really have. There were some hard times. Raising the kids with Irene, my French wife, right? In that small apartment. You do a lot of straight jobs. I painted apartments. I moved furniture in a rental truck. I did voiceovers for some dumb industrial film. I rebuilt walls, plastering. Anyway, I kept saying, I'm going to leave. And then I became a writer in residence at Shakespeare Company. And old George Whitman threw a lot of money at me, knowing I was broke, like he has had done through the decades. That kept me here, ladies. And then, the kids get older and you're staying. And gradually, the cost of the city and raising kids, they're in good schools, man. We had health insurance, man. Okay. Oh, man.
But there's been some tough times, hasn't there, recently?
Well, other than my usual artist depressions, but what can I say? Let's just bump it off for that. You get a fucking depression, go through it. Don't take the Velcanate, and you're gonna write some of your best stuff.
The two books that you're publishing now, are the poems from your time here, are they inspired from your personal experience in Paris or from America?
They're a mix because I share my life between Paris and New York, and go to Pittsburgh and New Orleans and places, but mostly New York. You see, I create the ideas, almost all of them over here, believe it or not, and then I test them in New York. And man, if you're not right, New York will let you know. So I go over there. I used to be so nervous. Or when I went on a jazz stage, the jazz poet, right? We doing this like 6 like 8 and 8 like 6, 6 like 8, maybe 12, changing the tempo. Can I choose a key? No, 1, 2, 3, go. Same with the poets. The poets are like, walk out in the middle of your poem. Wow. They'll turn around audibly and say, what kind of jingle is that, buddy? And if they like it, they'll just go. Right.
Okay, Neil, so if you'll stop screen sharing, I'll go back to screen sharing. We'll talk to Mo.
You're a little ahead of yourself now.
Is that me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Mo, tell us about Paris and why Paris and
Okay, sure. Well, I was doing a war correspondent assignment in Nicaragua, and a crazy day happened, and I wrote a poem about it, a love letter to Nicaragua. And someone from the French Ministry of Culture was attending my reading in a hotel in Managua. And a few months later, this book came out with my modern epic length poem translated and assigned to a painter who did a series of painters to accompany the poem. So I went over there, and I was famous for 15 minutes. And what happened was I fell in love with Paris simply because it's Paris, okay? Paris for Paris' sake. And I saw the cafe culture, and that suited me really well. There were still writers sitting at cafe tables, penning away, and that really attracted me. So that's how I got there.
All right. So tell us about this
And I
group
got,
of
well,
people.
I got published by the Ministry of Culture. So I should add that because that gave me a pass to meeting certain people I needed to meet and getting an artist grant from the French government. So that happened. And what you're watching now is a group of my group, Angora Poets. And there's a shot of us.
So tell us about the group, how that started, with how it works, because I see notices that you do shows now on Zoom and all.
Well, I wouldn't call them a show. Essentially, what we do with Angora Poets, it's going into its fourth year, is it's invited poets only. It's not an open mic. I only invite poets who have shown their craft work, young and old, published and unpublished, but only shown their craft work. And we also recite in various languages, French, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, and we translate one another in those languages as well. So we've gotten the name World Cafe. And that's what we do. We meet every Sunday. And now during the pandemic, we're meeting on Zoom. And when it's over, we'll go back to a place in Saint Michel on the left bank called the Bistro des Artistes. So that's what Angora Poets is about.
Okay, I think you were ready to recite a poem live for us. Would you like to do that now?
Well, I guess so. I should get the book. Let's see here. Kind of threw me off there. Which poem was it you were asking for, Robert?
It's the one on, hold on.
I think
It's
called
Perhaps, isn't it? Perhaps.
Sure. Okay. Now, let me find it in this book here. Okay, I have it. What I want to mention to all you Peabody people is that I wrote a lot of poems about Pittsburgh. Although I live in Paris and visit New York often and Pittsburgh, I've written a lot of poems about Pittsburgh. So this was written about me taking a walk from McPherson Boulevard to Homewood Avenue on a rainy afternoon. And it's called Perhaps. And it goes, morning gives to afternoon, time to tuck away dreams, desires, inner being, corporeal gravity to transparent routines, anemic rituals. Spring rains, green returns from exile, sucks on April's nipples. Thunderclaps, lightning flash, fear of falling waters hurt us against each other, repelling most in hurried flight for home, where we are absolutely safe from nothing. Witness those drowning in the empty vessels of themselves. Oh, this day would be dull, boring, were it not for the occasional flash of bright umbrellas, one the color red, to remind us we are. My umbrella is a tent, and I a nomad, wandering through this village, not quite sure of how to conduct myself. By chance, a design, we come upon each other. Relief, the solitude of two. Too soon it is time, and you must go. I'll remain. Beauty is stubborn. Perhaps it will rain tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. All right. So let me go back to my PowerPoint, my cue here. Okay. Okay, tell us about your work
Yeah.
and tell us about this part of your life. We're going to take you
Well-
back to your youth. Go ahead.
Well, okay, because Roberto Clemente is very, very, very memorable. When I was 10 years old, I got a volunteer assignment to assist the public address announcer for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so I would attend every game, assisting the public address announcer and being up in the press box. And so over a couple-year period that lasted 2 years, I got to see the Pirates in 63 through 65 when they were bums, all right? But I got to see the great Roberto. And the memory that stands out is a night game when the Pirates were losing again against the San Francisco Giants, against Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. And a Giant hit one off the right field wall over Roberto's head. Now he turned and fielded it on a one hop right close to the wall, turned around in a fixed position and threw a line drive strike all the way from right field to the home plate with a runner rounding third. So the ball came in and the catcher, Jim Pagliarone, dropped the ball. And I was there.
All right, so
Pagliarone didn't last long. But that's what I saw of the great Roberto.
so tell us about how you got
Okay.
started in poetry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a good cue too. Look at that name, folks, Caligiuri. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Come on.
Richard Caligiuri.
Thank you very much. I was in 4th grade at Liberty School, and my homeroom teacher, I was there all day long, was Miss Caligiuri. And I had written my first poem a year before, and it got published in a school pamphlet or something. So I was inspired. And she noticed me writing poetry instead of paying attention, and she encouraged me to keep writing. She was a wonderful influence, and she happened to be the sister of Mayor Caligiuri, and they still live together on Beechwood Boulevard in Squirrel Hill. And I was so close with Miss Caligiuri that I actually went and visited their house when her brother was still working as a director of Pittsburgh Parks and Recreation. So a shout out to Miss Caligiuri. And of course, I think most of you will remember her late renowned brother, Dick Caligiuri. So that's what that's all about. And it launched me. Okay.
So now let's take us to high school here. And maybe at some point when we're done, we're going to have a question and answer comments, but we'll hold that to the end. And some of you may have remembered some of this, but tell us about being a senior and a junior in Pittsburgh and a high school and its publication and everything. Go ahead.
Well, what this is about, this is a underground newspaper that I and a group of people put out in 1969 called I'm All Right, news from the biggest small town in America. And the purpose of this underground newspaper was to urge the races to get along and everybody to support the causes of the day, which was racial harmony and resistance to the Vietnam War, okay? And so we put this newspaper out in an attempt to unite high school students, particularly working class, you see, because that's where a lot of the tension was breaking out, skirmishes and fights and tension, if you all can remember. So on the cover of this was our first issue. You'll notice in the left corner, that's everybody from Peabody in front of Ventos, you see? And so we published that, and the centerpiece is me in the middle with the hair over my forehead and 5 other Peabody students. And so we published this, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, Al Vento got woken up by the Pittsburgh City Police and told to come to his door. And they interrogated him because we photoed in front of his pizzeria about whether or not he was involved in this radical, uncondoned publication. And poor Al was going, "What are you talking about? I sell pizza, I sell hoagies. What are you talking about?" So he said he was in his bathrobe and pajamas, So I saw him a day or two later, and he told me about this. He said, "Hey, the police were here. What are you kids doing?" And I told him what we were doing, and Al said, "I agree with what you're doing. You're all a bunch of good kids. Just be careful." So this newspaper would get spread throughout Pittsburgh high schools, and we would call for a high school walkout, which affected 5 high schools on one given day. And that shook up the Board of Education. So we went to one of their hearings and took the meeting over and addressed the board whether they'd been given permission to say we wanted a high school student bill of rights. And that would end up allowing the school system agreed to that, where we could change the dress code. Most notably, girls could begin wearing jeans and slacks. Okay. And there were other things about the right not to be interrogated by, right then, a flood of policemen guarding the halls who were a bit rough on us, very rough on us, actually, because they detested what we were doing, because racial harmony did not fit well with the Pittsburgh police force. So I would go over and speak to students at Westinghouse High School and Alderdice, Lawrenceville Catholic, Swissvale High School, and we would call, again, student walkouts. So the Board of Education took us very seriously. Mr. Mong at Peabody didn't know what the hell to do with us. But that's how it got started. And then it got national circulation. So I left in 11th grade to begin speaking at various high school groups about this idea of black and white unity. And that's what happened with the newspaper. And we put out 4 editions. And then we got too old to put it out because we were too old for high school. So that's the history of I'm All Right.
Wait,
Okay.
Wait, I don't think I think we're
weren't you president of SDS in high school?
No, in fact, I battled SDS. What happened was a section became the Weathermen, if you remember,
Right.
the Weathermen. And they started a race. Their first project was to come to Pittsburgh and start race riots in the Pittsburgh area high schools, thinking that Black anger would transform into revolutionary behavior. That's how naive these Weathermen were. They met with me, believe it or not, 2 doors from the mayor's house, a very rich daughter of somebody, saying that we could join forces. And I totally rejected them. It ended up when the Weathermen came to the Peabody Westinghouse football game. They had already started big riots at Oliver High School on the north side, big riots. So they came to Peabody as their second hit. And I and a group of Peabodians told the police to sit back in the principal's office, and we would patrol the hallways and outside of the school, because we were, of course, they told me they were coming to start a race riot. So we found them, and I can tell you, we found them, and they were kind of combative, but not very capable. So we kind of pushed them around and put them back in their van and told them, "You're not starting a race riot here." And the police and Mr. Mong were very happy. And it was an unusual event where the police and Mr. Mong and Mr. Kubiak ceded control for a couple hours so that we, who knew what was going on, could weed out the troublemakers. And that's what happened.
So,
With,
so that went on your permanent record, Bo, as a good thing, right?
Well, I don't know if it went on my record, but they were really damn happy that they didn't experience the same
If you
racial
remember,
riots.
Mr. Mong would repeatedly go over the PA system and talk about the permanent record. So, okay, Mo, tell us about some of your work after in Pittsburgh with radio stations.
Well, all right. Well, okay. So I can tell you this. I never graduated. I took a GED because I was so busy doing the newspaper and traveling in my senior year that I never graduated. So I'll admit that to you now. I took a GED a year later, and I watched the graduation ceremony at the Civic Arena from the stands, Um, a couple of years, in 1973, a group of us put together what we thought would be a new public information listener supported radio station, WYEP. So we went to an old truck garage in South Oakland on Cable Place and put up drywall, scrubbing, and pipe fittings and things like that. And we got donated radio equipment, really old school, from KDKA and Channel 13, the Channel 13's radio station. So we were using this like really old equipment that worked very well. And we launched WYEP out of Pittsburgh, 24/7, no commercials, and independent public radio where we played music that was different from sort of like WDVE and Whammo and things. We mixed it up, everything from folk music to blues and jazz and reggae, and political commentary, downloading news shows from various satellite feeds that was alternative to the straight news. So that's what we did, and I would end up settling in as hosting the Jazz Hour, and later on being the station editorial writer. And so, as many of you may know, YEP is thriving today.
It is.
Yeah, it
Thank you,
is.
Mo. So tell us about your other radio work and
Well,
explain this
okay.
picture here in Newark.
Sure. Okay. Well, this is a crowd of friends of mine from the greater New York area. And we're fan supporters of WBGO Jazz Newark, which is another independent public radio station with a national and international listenership, because it's online. You can also get it online. And what we do is we launch social activities, barbecues, picnics, boat rides, and huge dances where up to 2,000 people will come to the New Jersey Public Arts Center, to the old Roseland Club in Midtown New York. And we hold these huge dances as well. And so we're all very loyal to the station and very loyal to the DJs, particularly our leader. Anyway, particularly our leading DJ. And the station has won many, many awards for music education and community education. It's a very outstanding station. So there I am with a group of people. That day we were holding a dance over in Newark. And we just get together several times a year, either in New York, in Manhattan, or over in Newark. And we have a ball together. And we've been doing that for 10 years. And various people have personalities. And every Saturday, when Felix Hernandez does a 4-hour show called Rhythm Review, and this should interest our people, you people. It's classic soul, rhythm, and blues. So all the tunes from the 60s and 70s every Saturday is played for 4 hours straight. All the stuff we grew up with, mostly Black music, right? Including Blue-Eyed Soul. So you hear a lot of, Temptations and Smokey Robinson and the Supremes. And so the boomers are very much in love and loyal to that music. And then we hold these big dances where young people come. So that's why I'm involved in that station.
So now we're going to move on to your work as a
journalist.
Yeah, and you're in the conflict zone. So tell us about that.
Well, okay. Well, I wanted to be a journalist since I had a career counseling session at Peabody in 11th grade. I knew then I wanted to write, and now I wanted to move to another language skill, from poetry to journalism. So what I simply did, I started writing in Pittsburgh, and would get some guest columns in the Post-Gazette and some features in Pittsburgh Magazine. But what I simply did was I started going to war zones and going into areas where Western journalists were not reporting news. And what that afforded me was a regular column in a magazine with Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman and other Ivy League writers who were writing, if you know Chomsky, anti-war, anti-imperialism, explanations on U.S. economy and things. So they were all sitting in the Ivy League writing, especially Chomsky, right? And I was the guy on the ground actually going places. So in 1989, I wrote a couple articles for various publications. One of them was for In Pittsburgh. It was the Weekly Arts and News magazine, and it was a feature article. And that year, it was judged the winner of the category investigative journalism. So they give all of us a Golden Quill Award for that, and that's how I got that. And of course, that enabled me to go to New York and continue appearing in New York press, Boston press, and some other press, which was my major occupation in, the middle and late 90s. Going to war zones. If you want to get into the national news and not get a number, take a ticket, wait in line, go somewhere where nobody is at and it's newsworthy and fill a vacuum. So that's what I gambled on, and it worked. So that's what that's about. And yeah, in Israel, Palestine, I covered the Intifada. In Nicaragua, I covered the Sandinista Contra conflict, South Africa, covering it before apartheid was abolished. And, a few other places that were, they were in conflict. So,
Back to your poetry and tell us more.
Yeah, this
about
is a
your
darling picture. This man here is no longer with us. His name is Sidney Miller. He was born in Brooklyn, and he married Sylvia from the Bronx. And I met him at a poetry conference, and we took to one another. And so he became my mentor. So I read his poetry, and I would go visit him, in the city, and just basically show him what I was writing. And as a mentor, he would comment on it. And he taught me a valuable lesson. They sent me on a national tour, and the highlights of that was I was on NPR Weekend Edition reciting a poem that I wrote in Pittsburgh. And then I would go on to do other readings. And I said to Sidney, I read that poem tonight, and I didn't get much reaction. Sidney, what the hell's going on? And the big lesson was, he said, once you write it and you send it out, it's not yours. Now move on, kid. And that stuck with me, stuck with me. He was a great man, and he passed away. And Sidney Miller, I remember his lines to his lovely wife, Sylvia, where he said, let's go out in the rain and get wet with what is. And that impressed me so much, down to earth. So that's a little bit of talk about Sidney.
All right. So now I'm going to switch it back to Neil. And Neil, you're going to do this poem here. So I'm going to stop the screen share. And Neil, can you make it a little louder maybe on your volume? But we're going to flip it back. Now Neil is going to do the screen share.
Okay. And I'm the pictorial accompaniment with this recording is at the Park Brews restaurant in Highland Park. My son owns that, and we were doing Jazz Mondays, Jazz Sundays. So here we go.
And I think you can make the screen big to cover the whole, yeah, with that, right.
No, that's not it. Bob, that's not Fisherman and Postcard. No.
This isn't the poet?
No, it's not the one. No, it's not Jazz Is, but we can go with this if you want.
Yeah, let's go with this. This is the one I wanted to use because it's a shot in Paris.
Okay.
Sorry if I got the title wrong.
Okay. Now, this is filmed by a Russian filmmaker living in Paris. And she said, let's do something on a poem.
swimming and pools. On a corner of an avenue, intersected by a street, in the bowels of this ghetto wasteland. The young boys huddle in the shadows of the young men in large numbers, swelling noise before a small and drinking pool. Its brown gray opaque substance smooth like skin on a ball. Leaning into a razor edge hot that bites the neck, claws the ears, they jazz their tired necks, thrilled and frayed into desperate deep waters. Roll back empty, empty as yesterday, empty yesterday. Young boys laugh and stomp their feet, young men curse and bow repeat. Old man sitting on a nearby street got black pot belly deep. Says these days got humbug and fun, got landlords. You boys just wasting your time. Wasting your time. Oh, my boy, the fine shout. It's never gonna live it. It's never gonna live it. It's never gonna live it after water in the water. Lord, for lover, sings the man. Down there, sky.
All right, thank you, Neil.
Okay, I apologize, people, for the way the videos are running like that, like still shots. They actually run normally, but on tonight's transmission, they're running like still shots. All right, so I've published 8 books of poetry and edited a few collections, and this is just a shot of. I'm currently. You see Moe Poems, a Paris collection. We had to do that, dedicated to Paris. And we want everything, as a collection of poetry. And the black and white cover is called I Want to Make Jazz to You. And it's all poems rooted to either jazz syncopation, the topic of jazz, and almost every one of these poems are erotic. Okay, this is my erotic collection. When you come to Paris, you soon find out that erotica is a highly respected form of literary craft. People don't blush so much as they do in the States. So, like Henry Miller and James Baldwin and other writers, you get the feel for erotica. The city can be very romantic and erotic, and you have the freedom to express that. And you're judged on your content and not on the fact that it's simply erotic. So those are 3 books, and I'm currently with Onslaught Press out of Oxford, UK. And so Matthew Staunton, my publisher, has put out 4 of my books. So that's what I got to say about that. And, I'm really happy to get published, of course. That's a privilege. That's a great benefit.
So let's take you back to Pittsburgh here from a little more mundane place, perhaps. But
not at all.
Tell us
Come
about
on
your
now.
work here and some of the things you've played here and may play here.
Well, this logo here is the Deutschtown Music Festival held on the north side. On the north side now, it was running for 3 years. And I played there and played for what's called the City of Asylum on the north side. That's for exiled artists of various arts. So I've done concerts there during the Deutschtown Music Festival with, of course, Pittsburgh musicians who are the best. Let me note that. I played in Paris and New York and other cities. And in today's way of doing business, you put your band together when you enter town rather than fly everybody together, you know. And so I always love performing in Pittsburgh because we have so many world-class musicians and so many musicians who live in Pittsburgh who get a lot of performance and respect when they go to places like New York and Paris. So you see, you get to meet internationally known jazz artists from the Berg, right in the Berg, and then you run into them in other cities. So that's really cool. I really am proud to be another Pittsburgh artist because there are so many good, notable artists, particularly in the field of jazz. You know, Pittsburgh has produced, if you go to the University of Pittsburgh in the Student Union Hall, you will see the photos and notations and some memorabilia from so many famous Pittsburgh jazz musicians. It outnumbers the other cities of comparable size. That's something.
Okay, so one of the places you play is your son's venue. So tell us about your son and playing and your family. Go ahead.
Well, all right. Well, my son Jesse, there he is sitting next to me, and he started the Park Bruges restaurant 11 years ago, and then he opened up the Point Bruges restaurant in Point Bruges, and then a couple years later he opened up the Park Bruges restaurant, and he was at the right place in the right time, and so he's been very successful, and has won some what do you call it, cuisine restaurant awards over the last couple of years as well, and been in the news. They interview him frequently because he talks about raising the minimum wage and talking about the value of his staff from the dishwasher and busboy on up. So he's sought out as somebody who advocates respect and harmony for his complete staff, and he pays health insurance for them, and he's protected them during the layoff and the pandemic. So he has quite a good reputation with his staff and with customers, and he serves basically a European style of food influenced by Belgium and France. So I'm real happy for that, and I see him and my grandchildren, a few times a year, and we're all tight, and it's a happy story.
Yeah, and I think many of us locals here living in Pittsburgh have eaten at both places. The Park Bruges is on Bryan Street.
Right.
And he had the third restaurant at City of Asylum,
Right.
Bruges North, but the COVID really kind of wiped everybody out because they
Yes.
stopped doing performances.
Right. He was telling me that basically his clientele were different there than in Point Breeze and Highland Park, where the clientele is more, shall we say, professionally, it's more professionals, On the north side, he was getting a whole lot of working class people coming in, which he advocated for. And then the pandemic wiped out, what they were under confinement and suffering economic hardships. So he let the place go because it wasn't generating any money once the pandemic started.
So tell us about this lovely
Okay.
lady.
Well, I have 4 children, and 2 of them were born in Paris. And this is I call her my Paris daughter, Caitlin. After high school, we call lycée, both my French children went to the States to be around communities that I had introduced them to, traveling over there with them. So Caitlin here who's, they're bilingual, of course, completely bilingual. And she went to New York and she's cutting it. She's making it in New York as a musician, composer, and teacher. So she sings what millennials call lo-fi and hi-fi, which I don't have a real understanding about it. It's just another version of rock. And so she's very popular with her band called Bijou, which means jewel in French. And she's very popular. And this little French girl is making it in rough, tough New York City. And I'm very proud of her. And here she is with me in our neighborhood in Paris because she comes over 2-3 times a year. And then I visit her in New York, of course. She's living on the Lower East Side. And then my son, who's not in this photo, he went from Pittsburgh playing soccer for Point Park University. He had a soccer scholarship. A Frenchie, they're valuable in soccer, And then he moved to Russia for 2 years to get a master's degree in international conflict resolution. And now he's just settled into Barcelona, which is a good time city. And he's like working for some cafe that sells coffee, tea, alcohol, and marijuana. All right. That's the way it goes in Barcelona. So,
All right.
Are you?
Okay, I'm going to switch it back to Neil. We have another video here, the last song. So go ahead, Neil. I'll end and you'll play the Jazz Is for that.
Okay,
And then we'll open it up for discussions. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd like to put a note in here.
Yes.
The photos are me performing at the Park Bruges in Highland Park with, again, all-star Pittsburgh musicians. So I hope you appreciate it.
What is jazz is a way in here, a way out. Jazz is an audio odyssey. Jazz is a round trip ticket round the worlds of Africa and Africa touch. Jazz is a jet stream blowing in from Ghana, melted out from Congo Square. Jazz is. What is jazz is? Jazz is a man down and out in Chicago, jamming, jamming, jamming like there's no tomorrow. Jazz is a Jew on a clarinet, going for broke, he let it rip. Jazz is. Jazz is a kid in a bootleg cellar, raised in the roof, you can hear him holler. Jazz is. Jazz gives a hand to Mozart and Bach, stirs the cream in the coffee cafe Vienna. Jazz is a niche on a back street in Paris, rendezvous lovers, loners, and poets. Jazz is. What is jazz is? Jazz is a part of the trade wind sail to the door of the depot of the lost and found to pierce your ears and drop your heart. Stormy morning during Sunday feel the blues deep box. Jazz is. What is jazz is? Jazz is a rip that walks me home. Is a bass line I climb to the top of the stairs. It's the hand I hold when nobody cares. Jazz softly whispers, I know how you feel. Jazz is. What is jazz? jazz is. Jazz is something, and scratch is chewing through the gristle to suck on the bone. Jazz is a holler, a cat call, a hymn. Jazz is singing saxophone in the shower. Jazz goes up, down to get down. Jazz calls nighttime the right time, and the right time is now. Wow. Jazz. What is? Oh, jazz is. Jazz is an instrument of fingers and tongues, a vessel of muscle and breath, body and mind in sync with the self. Jazz time takes 3 off the clock. A serpentine march out of formation. Jazz can leap to the end of the line or make every stop along the block. Jazz is a bitch. She's the mother. What is this? Jazz is. Jazz smells of jasmine, of incense, of pussy. Deep moans, high brass tone, guitar licks and sparkle. And the beat goes on, the beat goes on, the beat goes on, the beat goes on, the beat goes on. Jazz in. Jazz is a gas, is a liquid, is a solid mass of substance in the island in the center of the infinite sea. So vast, it's jazz, so deep and wide. So vast, it's jazz, so deep and wide. How the middle passage plays that side by side. That's it. What is jazz is a way through, a way out. Jazzland is a dynasty of open borders. No passports, no papers, no bullshit. Jazzland is a free country.
Okay.
All right, so Neil,
Sorry,
yes,
sorry
great.
for the listeners. It doesn't do justice to the quality of the musicians I'm playing with, but that's how it's coming off tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so we're formal presentations done and we're right on target, 8:30. We try to get this part done. So now we're open mic for people to ask questions or make comments, and you can just unmute yourself and jump in. There's no particular order. If I see you, I will just call on you. If not, just start speaking. Go ahead, anybody with a question or comment or recollection. Maybe you remember something about Moe that we forgot.
Hi, Mo.
Hi,
Let me introduce
Hi.
my friend
Lisa.
Lisa
Hi,
Fensick.
Bob.
Is
You know-
one of my young friends here in Pittsburgh, new friend, and she told me she was in Paris once. So you tell the story, Lisa. Okay.
The story, oh my gosh, Mo, we'll have to tell it together.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't remember the name of that great coffee shop / bar, underground club where
was
we
called
were. It was
Paris
for
lit up. Paris lit up.
Paris lit up. We met there. It was a poetry night.
Yeah.
And or open mic night. And I came because I was couch surfing. And it happened to be a place that was recommended by some people that I met in Paris. And that's where we met. And we connected over that shared experience of both being from Pittsburgh, living in New York City, and met in Paris. And I couldn't believe it. just all the connections that we had. And now we have this other connection, which is, Bob. So I'm just really pleased by it all. And it's really been great to learn so much more about you here tonight.
And you too, because if you recall, you are a bicyclist, a
That's right.
really good bicyclist.
That's
And
right.
After we got done talking with one another outside of that poetry reading, Lisa got on her bike. And I saw her form fitness and said, my God, we should do a trek together.
That's totally slow.
Yeah, because I'm a bicyclist as well. So then I found out that you're not only in New York, but you're from the Berg. And that made me very happy.
I know. So we'll have to see each other sometime here. And I would love to come check out your son's restaurant. I'm not familiar with the area. So it would be great for me to get to know that part of Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Good to see you, Lisa.
You too.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else have a question or comment or a remembrance? Deborah, go ahead. You're on mute, so you have to unmute yourself. On the far left on the bottom should be your unmuted button on the far left.
Okay.
Next to the stop.
Hi,
There you go.
bonjour. To focus day. I am not a Peabody grad, unfortunately. Bob invited me, so thank you all. But my father was a champion of Peabody, and so was his whole family many years ago. I'm younger. But I wanted to know, first of all, terrific program that you put on, c'est très magnifique. Did you ever run across Jacques Brel? Because actually, my parents used to have some parties, and I'm a pianist, so I used to perform a lot of his music. Did you ever connect with him? And I love his music.
Well, my opinion is that Jacques Brel is the greatest vocalist of the 20th century, equaling Frank Sinatra. Now, this is my opinion. When I first heard Jacques Brel, Ne me quitte pas, I fell in love with his voice, with his presence, and with the poetic resonance. When if you listen to the American translation is not bad, but the French translation is just poetic excellence. And then the man gave like Sinatra did, he just
Absolutely.
gave. He played a cheap guitar. He lived in dives. He comes on a major Paris stage, and with 10 minutes of performance, he elevates to a national prominence. So Jacques Brel, and he's Belgium. He's not French.
Right. I mean, I'm too young to have known him, but his music, I'll have to send you some, Bob, or play some for you. Was absolutely just that ne quitte pas, which means don't leave me. But there's, as you say, Bob, there's really no literal translation. It is, you can't describe it. There are no words.
Well, the closest description comes from no other than the great Nina Simone, who did Ne me quitte pas in English. And so that gives you a rough equivalence of the language. And as you may know, if you know that world, Nina Simone did not do any other person's music lightly. They had to be world class for her to do their song. And because I would end up hanging out with Nina for 5 days in Paris. And
wow, so you knew Nina?
Well, for 5 days, I knew Nina because she wanted me to run with her around the clock. She never slept. At that point, she was into a whole lot of alcohol and drugs and depression, to tell you the truth. So, but she hired a taxi on full-time call, and we just ran for 5 days and nights. And one of the episodes was I said, Nina, tell me about the famous people you know. So I asked her about Marvin Gaye and Frank Sinatra, Prince. She knew everybody from R&B and soul to jazz. And so she commented on famous people that she was very close with. And that was an extraordinary listening event for me. So I asked her, Nina, you say you don't like white people. You know, when she met me, she said, who the fuck are you, white man? When she met me, she thought I was black because she read my poetry and heard my voice. So when I went to get in the taxi, she said, who the fuck are you, white man? That's where she was at that point. Now, this is relevant because I said to her one night at 3 a.m. driving the peripherique around Paris, Nina, of all the people you mentioned, who's the most dear to your heart? And she said, Frank. And I said, Frank? She said, Frankie. He was the one that he was the one that told the casino to give me a presidential suite when they denied me a room when I was doing a concert in Vegas. He said that if you don't give Nina Simone my suite, I, Frank Sinatra, will not do the concerts later on this week. So he broke the color barrier with Nina Simone. And she said that every year on her birthday, wherever those two were apart, she would receive a custom birthday gift to her liking from Frank every year. She said Frank Sinatra was the real deal. And I said, well, you said you didn't like white people. She said, he ain't white, he's Italian.
Hey, there's a wonderful documentary. I can't remember if it's on Netflix or not, on Nina Simone. I highly recommend it.
Yes.
It's tremendous if you haven't seen it. Who else has a question there or a comment? Anyone here? Come on, you're all not all shy. I can't just speak up. I can't see everybody. Tawana, you look like you're ready to say something about Moe in high school or something. You have to unmute yourself.
No, you know what? I'm actually just trying to remember. Moe, hello. Was your locker next to mine? What am I thinking?
Well, I don't know, but I came in the fall of '66.
Yeah.
And then, of course, stayed till the end of 1970.
Okay. I think it was.
Okay, cool.
Very cool. Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, if that's the case, then we'll just conclude. This recording, we're going to try to sort out a Peabody Showcase Facebook or YouTube channel. I have very little technical skills, as you can see. And so we're going to sort that out. We've recorded the first 3 or 4. We recorded Mike Menard and recorded Sandy and Adria, and we recorded Pam Golden last month. So we'll continue on that. I think that Miles just put that the movie is called a document, What Happened, Miss Simone. Okay.
Yeah, well, Miles just sent a message on the chat line, which what happened.
That's it. Yeah.
The message is what happened to Miss, well, hold on.
What happened, Miss Simone? Yeah, it's a wonderful story. Yeah.
Simply put, like so many prominent artists, it took a heavy toll on Nina. I can call her Nina. Took a heavy toll on her, and she had a very frustrating love life, as is so common, being so busy and sought after. And she explained to me that, well, briefly, that she had a very disappointing love life. And so when I met her in Paris in 1996, she had just left Los Angeles, where she was in an intimate relationship with a woman. And that wasn't working out too well. And at that time, she was having her daughter record an album supervised by Tina Turner, because Nina and her daughter just didn't hit it off. So Nina was real high on Tina Turner producing her daughter's album, but the daughter was bipolar, so that didn't work. Finally, what happened, Nina just continued, actually demoralized, if you want to know the truth, and would go into bouts of depression. And she would hide out from the public in Newark, New Jersey, at the home of a very famous poet, Amiri Baraka, who used to host national figures from jazz and poetry and NPR and stuff, who would come to hide out in his home for privacy and recovery. So that's what happened to Nina. She continued to be on a big regime of alcohol and drugs, and demoralized. I think she thought that that she just she felt exploited by a lot of people. And that's what she felt. And she felt that she didn't get her fair share of income, which is a common gripe among a lot of artists. So, she died before her time. And I can tell you in France, she's a daily legend. You hear her music daily in France. So I can tell you that about her.
Okay, any
I can tell you
final?
a good story. Tell you a good story. In Saint Michel, when Nina was younger, she sang at this mob bar run by Argentine mobsters who had migrated to Paris. You see, and it was very popular and very well attended. She sang there, and the owner, who was this tough guy, didn't pay her. So she went back a second time and said, "You got to pay me." And he said, "Get out of here." She went in a third time and walked downstairs to his office, and he said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And she pulled out a pistol. And she said, "You pay me now, or I'm going to blow you away." So that story that's legendary about her, she confirmed to me it was true. And she said that mobster paid up.
Believable.
Yeah. She was nobody to mess with, let me tell you.
Any other comments or questions? And we'll conclude if otherwise, but I want to make sure everyone had an opportunity to say anything they'd like. Okay, hearing nothing, then we'll conclude. But I want to say thank you to all of you. So many of you that we all haven't seen each other for literally years, sometimes 50 years. And I have to say that Peabody in the 60s and 70s was a magnificent place with magnificent people. And it doesn't really surprise me, the talent that I see coming out of our classes and our generations. And every show I do and everything we put together here is amazing. And for those of you who didn't catch Michael Menard and his work, and didn't catch Pam Golden and Adrian Sandy, it's great. And we're going to have some more people coming up talking, and I see Rob's here. He's going to do one, I think, next month is going to be Chuck DeSabato, who's been running our reunions for 50 years. Oh, Eileen has something. So I'm going to let Eileen speak. So unmute yourself, Eileen Cohen, from the year before, after us, or before us, yeah, after us, yeah, younger. Good, Eileen, speak. Where are you, Eileen? You had your hand up. You have to unmute yourself. Where'd you go, Eileen? You had your hand up and I called on you. I'm going to report you to Wayne Monk, put you on the permanent list.
You better be out there with a hall pass, girl. Hey, Bob, you asked me to finish with a poem that I dearly like.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Do the poem. And then if anybody else has a question, we can take it after. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, Mo.
Okay. I wrote a collection called Suite in 3 Movements. It was commissioned for jazz recording. And what I'm in Paris. And I'm going to read the text, of course, not the jazz recording. And so this is a Suite in 3 Movements. And this is the first movement, which is called Intangible Law of Love. I see so many beautiful women walking and talking and strutting their stuff while they seat themselves on the metro. Paris abounds with radiant femmes. The beauties most attractive to me are brunettes, brown and black-haired ladies of various nationalities. I stare with discretion at a well-measured distance. These women are neither young nor old, but in their prime. And within moments, the cause of my admiration becomes clear. They resemble you. Oftentimes, I superimpose your face on these women, and I imagine you. I quickly become sensual, growing warm, affectionate, love struck for you. I may close my eyes to envision the deep wells of your eyes. Next, I draw out your smile, and I will call up your voice and listen to your laughter. I then outline and slowly trace your most erotic physique. If I should allow this distraction to continue, I reach for the touch of your hand in midair, your shoulder, the nape of your neck. Translate, I lean forward into your embrace. This is the moment I lose all sense of my destination as I am rendered helpless before the image of you. There is no vacuum between lovers. This is the intangible law of love. And I am in that timeless space consumed by throbbing sensations, romantic desires, and I have entered an ethereal mist of delightful fragrance, most uniquely yours. Vertigo sends me reeling, absent the confines of this metro floor, walls, and windows, and I have momentarily escaped gravity's hold, afloat in a weightless abandon, a state of absolute comfort, safe and secure from doubt and reservation, enjoyed and joined to the love of you. Mere mortal that I am, this bell, this buzzer, the shriek of the brakes returns me to where I should be going, and I step from the metro, exit through the door to feel the slap of a cold winter rain to my face. It slaps. At this juncture, your presence is indelibly stamped on my heart, and alone, I need no word or sight of you, no palpable contact. The proof of my love is stowed unshakable in the deep reserve of me, reserved for you. From the wellsprings, you flow fluid, flush, circulating throughout my body, through my limbs, my mind's eye, part and parcel of the breaths I give out. Comes the late hour. I have done all that I could do since I began this journey, and I let go the routines, the acts to prepare for sleep. I'd like you to know, last on my mind and my wandering thoughts, would it please you to know I have carried you along in the pockets of my day.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any else to add? If not, we'll conclude. Anybody speak up?
Thank you so much, Mo. That was fabulous.
Well, thank you.
Mo.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank
Okay.
you. Merci
This
pour
was really fun.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, also.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see you next month. And
Thank you
I
so much,
appreciate-
Bob.
as long as we have the talent, including from other classes and people doing interesting things, we'll keep rolling this.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of interesting people doing a lot of great things in classes other than 1970. Although I have to think we are the premier type people here, but we have that. And looking forward, I see Rob Cardillo here. He and his brother Harry are going to do something great for us. And Gary Mounty's going to talk about life beyond Earth. Yeah,
I'm a fan of Bob.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Harry Cardillo. He's been a fabulous pianist, a fabulous jazz man.
Yeah,
and I would like to take a stage with him. I've invited him on my stages in Pittsburgh, and he wasn't available. But he's that caliber, Harry Cardillo. Yeah,
so
he's that caliber.
And then if I know that I'm working with David Gesh on maybe would hope would be an interesting presentation. And there's a few other people that I've been trying to push to do some things. They have some very interesting things in their lives, and I bet they may be a little shyer. So we'll keep this rolling. So my intent is to maybe by the end of this calendar year finish up 1970 or so. But there's like I said, there's other people out there that have some very interesting things who weren't in our class. And we welcome the whole Peabody and public community. So we will see everybody. Yeah, I see Mike. Yes, I see your message, Michael, and I'm all over that. I will be all over that. So a private message from Michael. So, hey, everybody, thank you. And we'll see you second Monday of every month, 7:30. We're just going to roll it that way for as long as we can. And we'll get these recordings and we'll have our own channel and we'll see each other. Okay.
Great
Good
work,
night, everybody.
Well,
Thank
I
you
want to
so
thank
much, Mo.
Thank you.
I want let me thank Bob. He was very, very
He's
patient
awesome.
with both of us working out online glitches. And I'm looking forward to when we finally have our reunion in Pittsburgh. I'm really looking forward to that.
And Neil Binstock, thank you for saving us on the thing. I have no idea why this didn't work.
Now I want to know, how do I save the recording, Robert?
You just, when you exit the Zoom, it will automatically save to your computer or the cloud. It takes a while to compress.
Okay, and then what?
And then you just save it, and I'll see whether my version or your version turns out to be better. Okay.
Okay, dear.
Okay. I
Hello,
have mine
George.
saved to the computer. Hey, George.
Have a
Oh,
good
no, I
night.
think you're off on the time, George. We're just finishing up. But we recorded it.
George is in California.
Yeah, I think he missed the George. I think you missed the time. We just finishing.
We've been
thank you
talking
for our non-classmates for coming, for joining us. I see Deborah Ziskin. Her father is a Peabody person and also a lawyer. She happened to go to other schools in the city, but not Peabody. But that's all right. We don't mind.
My dad loved it. He loved it.
Yeah. So
that's great. Okay. I want to thank all of you for taking the time and giving me a listen, because I took this particular presentation very much to heart because of who we are, Peabody grads and friends of grads. So this was different for me than just doing something like you saw earlier, some promo stuff. This came very intimately. And I recognized a lot of names, and I recognized a lot of names that came up on the screen, and a lot of talent. I know about that. A lot of talent from that class.
okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll see you next month.